completely and free, certified. Has Giriraj Govardhan been kind to you?
Yes.
Yes. No. It's big. Yeah. Has Giriraj Govardhan been kind to you?
Kind.
Yes, kind.
Definitely.
Yes, definitely.
Very kind.
Because?
So fortunate to be friend and playing.
Yes, but that's not what I asked. I asked if that's your fortune and you're in front of him, but I asked if he's being kind to you personally.
Yeah.
Very kind.
Yeah. Hare Krishna. Mataji, been kind to you? Okay.
Is there
You
a
too.
correct answer? Yes, give
Yes.
me the opportunity again to be here.
The correct answer is an honest answer. Honest, completely honest. But there's a difference between a correct answer and a polite answer. So if you don't have any experience, if you don't feel Giriraj has been kind to you, it's probably more polite to not say anything than to say no. But if you don't feel like he's been sufficiently kind to you, I would suggest that you go and tell him.
Why are you not kind?
Huh?
Ask him why are you not kind?
No. Give the vision.
Well, you could do it. I mean, you have the AP culture, so you would do it like that. Why haven't you been kind to me? But Westerners would probably chastise him. You must be kind to me. Hare Krishna. Let me just look. So Mataji, you do that, okay? Where are you from? What's your name?
Victoria,
Victoria. And where are you from?
Lithuania.
Lithuania. And how old are you? Okay. Now tell me.
More than 30.
Really? How much more than 30? Okay, never mind. We're getting. Anyway, you tell Giriraj everything. Not everyone. No, really, that's true because, I mean, we're joking now, but the people it's so rare that we actually find anyone that we could actually tell everything to. And if in this world, if you have one person or two people in the whole world that you could tell everything to, that you have so much trust, just be yourself. You're so fortunate. And in one sense, that thought leads to Vrindavan, because this is something that it puzzles me in a sense. Not puzzled me, but until I figured out my answer to this question. Because we have Krishna. Maybe we could put the volume down. It's a bit too loud, a lot too loud. There's Krishna who's, you know the verse, Ye tamam papanyante? Do you know that verse?
Yes, 9.11.
4.11.
But I didn't ask you or you. I asked, do you know that verse? Ye tamam papanyante? Okay, that's honest. Good. And that's even just to say I don't know is such a difficult thing. It doesn't come out of the mouth so easily. But it means that Krishna reciprocates with everyone, according to how they approach him. He reciprocates with them. So if you had a friend, a person, who reciprocated with everyone how they approached him, if someone is angry and approaches him, then he's angry. And then if someone isn't kind to him, he's kind. And if someone says the weather is nice today, he said, yeah, the weather is really nice today. He's reciprocating according to how it's so cold. Yeah, it's really cold today. So Krishna is reciprocating with everyone. And how this question really came to my mind is that by nature, I have somewhat a liberal nature in the sense that when looking at Krishna consciousness, I don't think in terms of our religion, our quote religion is the only religion and everyone else doesn't understand everything, because I don't look like that. But then, I was trying to understand what is the people of other religions, to me it's obvious that they're having an experience in their relationship with God. To me, that was obvious. They're experiencing something. Otherwise, they wouldn't be so fanatical or whatever they are. So they're experiencing something. So I was thinking, well, what does that mean that everyone is experiencing something? And actually, Krishna explains in the 11th canto of the Bhagavatam that he's giving the different philosophers different realizations according to the same principle, how they want to approach him. So then the question comes to my mind, well, what is he actually like? If he's like more or less holding up a mirror to you, and when he's reciprocating with you, you're seeing very much yourself. Do you follow what I mean? It's odd that I'm speaking to you. I'm probably feeling a little bit, but don't worry. If our experience of the Supreme Absolute Truth is very much dependent upon our consciousness, our own consciousness, so that makes me wonder, well, what is he really like himself when he's being himself? Not reflecting your consciousness, but what's he really like being himself? And that is Vrindavan. When Krishna is because who do you really, if there's anyone in the world that you completely trust, those are the people you can be yourself with. You know, the bad parts, the good parts, they know you so well, and they still like you or love you. So then you can just sort of really relax. So if you have even one or two people in the whole world like that, you're very fortunate. So Krishna, because you can imagine if God was the concept of God, Ishvara, is the way that most people conceive of him. They just go and pray, maybe give him a little donation. And then just imagine if that was all he was, how boring it would be. Just people all day long telling you their problems and expecting you to fix them and then getting angry and upset, or I'm not going to believe in you if you don't fix my problems. I mean, people want to become God, but not if it was that. But Krishna, when he just relaxes and he can be himself, is Vrindavan. And who do you relax with and who do you trust so much that you can just relax? It's a matter of trust. So you only one really trusts someone who completely, and tested, who really loves you. Because someone who loves you won't take something that, they won't exploit you. They would never do anything to hurt you because of love. So Krishna in Vrindavan is Krishna with those who love him so completely. He can just be himself and do what he likes to do. And what does he like to do? He likes to be like all of us, to be with people who you love and who love you. And then you can just relax and be yourself. And what does he like to do? He likes to take care of cows. and he likes the simple living, and he likes to play the flute, but even when he's with the people who love, and this is what Mahaprabhu teaches through Rath Yatra, which is, if you've studied the Bhagavatam, the Rath Yatra, which part of the Bhagavatam does the Rath Yatra, is it about?
Kurukshetra to Vrindavan.
Yes. So this is the, you know what chapter of the 10th canto that is? It's the 82nd chapter of the 10th canto. So in that, even Srimati Radharani and the gopis, I mean, it's really, the descriptions in the 82nd chapter of the 10th canto are very special with the commentaries of the acharyas, to give us an idea of what's going to happen a little bit later. There's one scene where Krishna and Balaram come in and to a tent where Nanda and Yashoda are there. And they hadn't seen Nanda and Yashoda, and Nanda and Yashoda hadn't seen them for a long time. You could say for a long time, but what's a long time? When you love a person, like the relationship between Krishna and the Brijbasis, a moment seems like a million years. What verse? Niveshana, the blinking of eyes seems yuga, millions of years. So when we talk about they haven't seen him for a long time and he hasn't seen them for a long time, and even when Krishna went to Gurukula, so the boys would go out every day begging. Do you know that? They would go out every day begging. Because begging, no matter who you were, a Brahmin, a Kshatriya, or whatever, you'd go out begging for food. And they'd say, "Oh, Maya." They'd go to the houses of all the neighboring people, and they would, of course, give them something, and they'd all bring the food to Sandipani Muni. But so all the boys would go, and Krishna would go with them. "Oh, Maya, please give us something." But Krishna couldn't say that. Because every time he would say, "Oh, Maya," he would think of Mother Yashoda, and he would collapse. So this is Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. He's so captivated by the love of the residents of Vrindavan. So at Kurukshetra, there was a tent, and Nanda Maharaj and Yashoda were in the tent. So one could ask, why didn't they just go and see Krishna? Because they couldn't, because Krishna is surrounded by so many people. So they were just perhaps waiting. And then Krishna and Balaraman came in. And they immediately, even though they were grown adults, they jumped onto the laps of Nanda Maharaj and Yashoda, and they were just crying and crying, both. Everyone is embracing, and just so much affection, so much affection, so much affection. Krishna's captivated by this. And this, I find, takes me so long to understand. Oh yes, this is bhakti yoga. Oh yes, I'm supposed to have a relationship with Krishna. Oh, I'm supposed to actually have affection for him. And he's responding, even though it's there everywhere in the books. Everywhere it's in the books. But it's just so difficult to get it into my heart that this is what it's all about, developing a loving relationship with Krishna. And it's not just work that we're doing, it's devotional service. It's not work. It's seva. So how do you translate seva into English? It's not a job. What is your service? It's not service. In the same way in India you say, what is your service? Means what is your job? But it's not that. It's seva, it's an offering. It's an offering. So while Krishna and Balaram and Nanda and Yashoda were having this completely overwhelming exchange, then Rohini walked in. This is described in the 82nd chapter. Rohini walked in with Devaki, Mother Devaki. And Devaki saw this. And she understood Krishna doesn't exchange like this with me. So she said a verse, which I don't know by heart, but it's in the Bhagavatam. She said, we appreciate so much, O Nanda and Yashoda. We appreciate so much, because this is the first time Devaki had seen Mother Yashoda and Nanda. We appreciate so much that you've taken care of our children. Even though they're not your children, you've taken care of them with such love and devotion. Thank you so much. So hidden in that is, even though they're not your children, this is the way things are. When you want to shoot arrows, you don't shoot them directly. So we appreciate so much that how much love and care you've given our children, Krishna and Balaram, even though you've done this, even though they're not your children, she said. And she just said that, and Rohini was there, and Yasoda Maya was there, and Krishna and Balaram were there, and Nanda Maharaj was there. And how did they react to this? They didn't even notice. They didn't even notice. They were so absorbed in their own ecstasies. And then Rohini Devi, she saw this is a very awkward situation. So she said, why don't we go outside? What a beautiful night, isn't it? Something like that. There's so many people who want to see us. Let's go outside. So she brought Devaki out. And then after this exchange had reached its completion, then was the time to meet Krishna, to meet the gopis. So he had to make some, I have to go out, have to do this, have to do that. My mobile phone needs charging, something, you have to say something. So then he goes out, and there's a place. Does anyone know the name of the place in Kurukshetra? Huh? Where they met?
Brahma Sarovar.
Yes, but not exactly Brahma Sarovar. No. It's called Sanihit Sarovar, where Sunny Devi is worshipped, but just there's a little Sarovar on the side. And they met there. And we're talking about, this is all in the frame of reference of what Rath Yatra is. So Mahaprabhu was in this mood. So to be with the most trusted, loving people at Kurukshetra, Krishna and the gopis were there, Srimati Radharani was there with Krishna. It wasn't enough. Even though the loving relationship was there, still something was missing. And what was that something? Vrindavan. It was Vrindavan. So therefore, Mahaprabhu, in the mood of Rath Yatra, he would be dancing and chanting and feeling the same separation that Srimati Radharani was feeling for Krishna, in the presence of Krishna. To feel that separation for Krishna in the presence of the Krishna, that's a different level of ecstasy. There's some pastime in Prem Sarovar that's similar in one sense. So then, Mahaprabhu's mood is, now we have to solve this problem. We have to bring, in the mood of Radharani, we have to bring Krishna back to Vrindavan. So that's Rath Yatra. For the Gaudiya Vaishnavas, that's Rath Yatra. And that's in the 13th chapter of Madhya Lila. Mahaprabhu's mood, and he's crying and crying, and his love is so strong that Lord Jagannath is following him to the Gandicha, which is Vrindavan. So, and then in the 14th chapter, then some little hint of what goes on in Vrindavan is given. There, just a hint after Maharaj Pratapuruja recites and melts Mahaprabhu's heart by reciting the Gopi Gita, just the first chapter, first verses, 9 verses or so. So how to develop love for Krishna without it just becoming sentiment and something cheap. Just because everyone walks around and Radhe, 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 and stamp it here, which is okay, it's wonderful. But and then we tell these little stories, Brijbasi type of stories, and then everyone giggles because they're so cute. But it's actually the most subtle, refined, deepest and deepest of realizations. So how to get to that point, and obviously it's not going to be easy. And the essence, as Sri Ramananda Roy said to Mahaprabhu, is you have to really want it. And Krishna will reciprocate with you. Tatra, when he so desires. Tatra loyam apimula mekalam. You have to really only want Krishna and nothing else. So as I mentioned earlier, as we were talking, that sometimes I'll think, part of me will think, oh, Krishna, I only want you in your service. And then I imagine Krishna responding, saying, oh, really? Let's see. You're laughing, but I'm not laughing when I say it because the sincerity is like this, and then there's all the other parts that want so many other things. So it's very humbling. But Krishna reciprocates still and helps us. And there's one Vyasa Puja offering of Srila Prabhupada's when he says that I don't expect any direct service for crores of births. He said that to his Guru Maharaj. So this is the mood of someone who's truly humble. And someone who is truly humble like that is the kind of person that gets empowered. That Mahaprabhu can, Guru Prabhupada, Krishna Radha, they can work through such a person because he can be trusted. He's not going to take anything for himself. He knows that this is Krishna. So it seemed like that to me. That type of a mood explains Srila Prabhupada very much because he just saw that he really wanted to serve. And there's this one lecture that I'll play a segment of it. That's one of my favorites. Prabhupada speaking in Mayapur, where he explains that if you want bricks and mortar, there's something must have happened. I don't know what. This was in 1976. So he was upset with perhaps one of his godbrothers or something. Something must have happened. And he said, if you want bricks and mortar, Krishna will give you bricks and mortar. But if you want to serve, Krishna will give you service. And Prabhupada wanted to serve his Guru Maharaj and Mahaprabhu and Sisi, Radha and Krishna. And what service Krishna, and he saw that Krishna was giving him such service, and he just, and whatever Krishna was giving him, as long as he had life in his body, he was going to push it to the limits because he saw Krishna was working through him. His plans were unlimited, as I mentioned. That he said, I want to make everyone in the universe Krishna conscious, talking about ambition. Talking about ambition. You can't get more ambitious than that. And I saw that Prabhupada, when he saw people had the nature of ambition, had that, he didn't, no, you can't be like that, you have to be like this. He went for the essence. If you have some desire to please Krishna, he also said in one lecture that my philosophy is that if I see a spark, I fan it. Spark of desire to please Krishna. I fan it. So if someone has ambition, then let him spread Krishna consciousness all over the universe. If someone, Krishna is going to reciprocate with your desire to serve. So that's what we want to do. We want to refine our desire to serve and not make it, and not mechanically, but let it come. At some point, it has to come from the right place and not think it cheaply. But at some point, it has to come from the right place. And what's that right place? I really want to please you, even more than I want to please myself. I mean, so many other parts of me that have so many other desires. I really want to please you. I really want to please you. And what happens to me isn't as important. Okay, I won't say, because our great acharyas and the Braja Gopikas and the residents of Vrindavan, they don't care about themselves at all. There's one verse in Padyavali of Rupa Goswami that says that Mother Yasoda is prepared to die 1,000 times to save Krishna one drop of perspiration, any inconvenience for Krishna. For me, so we may not be on that level. It would be so nice if some devotees or all devotees are on that level. But I can say for myself, there's still too much selfishness inside. But if somehow or another fan that spark, and sometimes we have to confront the fact that the external isn't going to satisfy us. It's external, but it's only the relationship with Krishna that will satisfy us, and try to expand that. And that's why we come here, to try to do that, to take our time with Giriraj Govardhan, to examine our own consciousness, to try to chant sincerely, "O Lord, O energy of the Lord Krishna, Srimati Radharani, please engage me in your service." That was practically the first translation of the Maha Mantra that Prabhupada gave us. And it reminds me of, there was one devotee asked Prabhupada, and how do you put Krishna to sleep at night, the deity? Do you remember who that devotee was? And Prabhupada said, "My dear Lord, please take rest now over here." And I remember the first time I read that, I was so disappointed. I wanted some fancy Sanskrit mantras and the mudras and everything like that. And Prabhupada just gave the essence of it, that you want the affection of please now. You must be tired. You're standing all day long. You even have something to hold up your arm because it's tiring. The side, excuse me. It's all. He gave us the essence. "O Lord, O energy of the Lord, O Krishna, Srimati Radharani, please engage me in your service. Please accept me as your servant. Please allow me to serve you." This is the greatest fortune, and that part of us that has that kind of sincerity, we want to fan that spark. And at some point, we have to take responsibility for that ourselves. In the sense of, I'm in this odd position of being an old devotee, meaning so many years, and also being in an old body. So people are, so respectful, especially in India. People are so respectful, or the devotees. And what does everyone say to you after they say, "Please come to my house"? But what do they say? What do they say? Please give me your blessings. And Giriraj, His Holiness Giriraj once recently sent me a quotation that he heard someone right next to Prabhupada had told him. That Prabhupada said, someone said that to Prabhupada. And Prabhupada would answer in different ways according to the circumstance, but at this one time he said, I have all this management to do. And this was late in the movement. I have all this management to do. And everything ultimately comes to me. All over the world, I have leaders, but ultimately it falls on me. And it's so much pressure. If you want my blessings, please take some of this pressure. So when people want, say, please give me your blessings, what do they, cheaply? You get cheap response. Yes, yes, yes. As you like. You approach cheaply, you get cheap response. But if you want something deep, you have to approach deeply. That means, deeply means sincerity, sincerely. And that's, in my opinion, the hardest part. Sincerity. And Prabhupada was once asked at 22nd Avenue, I think it was Brahmananda Prabhu or perhaps Satsut or Brahmananda, I think it was Brahmananda, had read so many books. And he was asking Prabhupada, this was in the very early days, is this philosopher Krishna conscious? Is this one Krishna conscious? And is this one Krishna conscious? Is that one Krishna conscious? And Prabhupada replied, their sincerity is their Krishna consciousness. So it sounds like a clever answer on one level, when you might not be familiar with all those philosophers, but actually he was answering truthfully on a simple level. And that I took seriously, hearing that. The issue is sincerity. Who do you want to please? And then so that's the kind of thing we would write on those prompts. Who do you want to please? And then after that, another little line, who do you really want to please? This is between you and Krishna. What's your real interest in this? What percentage do you want out of it all? That has to be confronted at some point. Because otherwise we don't become humble. And if we don't become humble, we can't sincerely chant, especially continuously. What do you think? Oh, that was a Bhagavatam class that didn't come from... Huh?
Come from heart.
You finished my sentence. I said, it didn't come from, and you said, the heart. Yeah, so thank you. I appreciate it, the honesty of that. We try our best a little bit. But I think we have to continue with other things. Excuse me. So what's 9 o'clock? Excuse me just for a moment. So ultimately, we have to, there's a lot of internal work. Unless you've already done all the internal work in a previous life, at some point one has to confront these kind of things. Excuse me. There. Oh, yes, we're actually not off schedule. We just didn't have kirtan. There's actually another 15 minutes of the Bhagavatam. So let me actually do that. And then we'll ask for questions. And we shall try our best. And how many of you have read Chaitanya Charitamrita? How many of you have studied Chaitanya Charitamrita? And I just, that's what I did during COVID. And I was astounded at this book. Srila Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami has written, he's really Kaviraj. It's on so many different levels. Everything is there. So many different levels and because Mahaprabhu was teaching, he's teaching and experiencing both. He's teaching others, everyone else, and Kaviraj Goswami has captured it completely because he's heard it from Srila Raghunath Das Goswami, who was right there. He's teaching how to attain the highest level of Krishna consciousness. Yeah. Such an amazing gift. Yeah, we should really read Prabhupada's books, and they're so and read them in such a way that thinking that Prabhupada is instructing me, and I'm sitting there, because if Prabhupada walked in right now, we'd all jump up, Jai Prabhupada, we'd have kirtan, then he would sit down, and we'd be just waiting for him to speak and say something, so that we could take these instructions very seriously and try to mold our life according to these instructions. But yeah, so when I think of sincerity, when I think of sincerity as the issue, the way I look at it is, it's like, it's a funny example, but like a teenager's room. I don't know if any of you have had teenage children, or most of them would. It's, they just tend to like that. But the lights have been out, so you don't see what you don't see what it's like. So when you try to, you can think it's clean, it's clean, it's clean. You can think I'm very, very, very sincere. But then at some point, you become introspective. Introspective means the light goes on inside, and you examine your own consciousness honestly and sincerely and really. And then the first reaction to when you look at your own consciousness, at least I could say for myself, is like turning on the light in a room that hasn't been cleaned for hundreds of years. And it's shocking, how much lust, how much anger, how much selfishness is there, all in the guise of people who come to you for blessings, things like that. And then that's the worst part. So one has to transfer it also. So anyway, that's a different point. But so at some point we have to deal with the room, the messiness of the room, which means the messiness of our consciousness, which has so much karma and desires and mixed up desires for how many births? For how many births? How many lifetimes? Such a mixture of karma. And it's up to the supersoul. This is one of the functions of the supersoul, because we have an ocean of karma, and we can't take an ocean of karma in one life. So the supersoul's, one of his you could say, services, or I don't know what to call it, not jobs. Yes, thank you. Function is to give us, allot us a particular karma for this life. So, but yet there's this whole, what's that called in Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu? What is it? Kuta Bija Parabdha karma is what we're experiencing now. So, but yet there's this aparabdha, this huge bag that the subtle carried by the subtle body. And sometimes the question comes, why doesn't, if I was just aware of my past lives, then it would be so easy that I could really believe I'm an eternal soul. And then then I would definitely surrender to Krishna. But that would be like the kind of surrender, this kind of surrender. Just imagine being aware of you being a bug, and all the times people were like that, or all the times that you did that to others, or the times that you've eaten this and that, and the times you've hurt people, exploited people, cheated people. Just imagine if you were aware of all that at once. Do you think there'd be any room in your consciousness for love for Krishna? So Krishna is very kind. It's an act of kindness. Just being afraid of death. If we have countless lives, just how many times you've been afraid of death, or a tiger. A tiger has attacked you or something, and the terror that enters your heart. Just imagine being conscious of all that and then expecting some love to enter your heart. Instead, you'd only be longing for liberation. Yes, you'd say, how can I get out of this? But Krishna doesn't want that. He wants bhakti. He wants to bring us home. So much for any questions or comments? We have 15 minutes for that. Yes. Who's senior? Yes.
That's for you to decide.
Why do I have to do everything? make my life easier.
Normally it's Krishna since we don't
Huh?
put him. So normally we put that on Krishna since that's not easy to put him on.
Thanks. That's a New York answer. Thanks a lot.
Your statement about keeps ringing, which is that you have really wanted. I really want Krishna. I only want you, Krishna. Then you reciprocate. This was the statement, and you said about how he will say, "Oh, really?"
I'm sorry. He.
How he reciprocates, so to say, saying, "Oh, really? You really want me?" My question is, I want Krishna. I tell Krishna that I want Krishna. I'm a little scared how he will manifest, in what form, and how will his mercy manifest. Like something like Jesus Christ saying, "My heart is ready, my Father," but my heart is not ready. It's a little scary. How do I deal with that?
Yeah. Because we hear that Krishna is kind, but we don't quite trust it. So, yeah, well, there's no easy magical answer to that, except that if your relationship with this all-powerful person. I once saw there's a cartoon, not a animated cartoon, but there was a
Comic strip.
but what do they call it?
Box.
Yes, box cartoon with just one little picture, and there was a picture of there was an old man with a beard who was God, and he was sitting in front of his computer, and on the screen you saw a. You want to guess? You think you're going to be able to guess?
Some desire, some application.
Wrong. Okay. You have to be a little patient, okay? Because it's better than you thought. It's funnier. It's also truer. There's a building, and beneath the building, there was a man walking a skyscraper, and hanging from the building on a rope was a piano. So you have to see this in your mind. There's a building, and there's a rope and a piano, and the person is walking, right? And the old man with the beard got his finger on the enter button. And he's just waiting for him to. So that's our concept of God. And because when you're dealing with all powerful, it's frightening. I noticed that when you walk into you've been to the Red Fort or Deliwala, the Dabar, you go into there and he's very high. And because that's not by chance that they build it high like that, because you're dealing with power. And they want people to know that when they walk in, they're like this. No one's taking selfies, no one's talking side conversations with their friends, no one's wearing jeans and shorts. No, when you're in front of power, there has to be awe and reverence, fear. So the king has to do that to govern. And he has to have the guards there. He can't joke with his wife. He can't play with his kids there. There it's official. So that's our concept of God. At least some of it, our concept of God. It has to be there. But Krishna is different. He's that, but he's the king when he walks out of the Dabar, the court, and he goes to his own private palace. That's Braj. So every day during Kartik we recite the Damodarastaka, and there's one verse that says what? He wants to show that if your relationship with him is awe and reverence, that you're not going to be able to have this kind of relationship. But yet the awe and reverence has to be there so it doesn't become superficial and just sentiment. But yet it has to not come through your intelligence. It doesn't have to come through, this is what you asked yesterday, through the mind. But it has to be coming from me. But it's a relationship that has to develop. Prabhupada gave the example of Vaidhi Bhakti being like the girl who marries a boy when she's 9 years old. And the elders, and there's no relationship, and she doesn't know anything, and they don't stay together or anything. But every day, I've heard Prabhupada say this, she cooks some food and brings it to him. And slowly, gradually, by the exchange, the loving exchange, I'm doing this for you, even though it's mechanical and just done because the elders have said to do it in the beginning, but it develops into a real relationship. So we want the real relationship to develop, and that's done, as we heard yesterday from the Bhagavatam. We have to hear about Krishna, and it's not only about Krishna's cute activities and how we have to hear and how his captivatingness, his all attractiveness. And gradually, the desire enters the heart that maybe it's real. Maybe he's going to really take care of me. Maybe this is what I want. I want a relationship with Krishna. And then one has to overcome those things. And the false trusts that we've given people of this world and they haven't fulfilled us, etc. We have to overcome all that gradually, and that's one of the reasons why you do service. Because you say, if you're a book distributor, how many of you have distributed books? So you go out and distribute books, and you do it by your power. I'm so clever, I'm intelligent, I'm doing it on behalf of this. I give them prasadam in India. There's all kinds of mechanical things that you do to get the results. But at some point, in the United States, they used to use the line to stop people, because that's the hardest part. You have to stop them. You don't go visiting them in the office in the United States. So you have to stop them because they're walking by and their world is on their mobile phone and they don't even know you exist. So they say, are you from here or out of town? Try that one in Delhi. In the boss's office, are you from here or out of town? They don't know how to answer it first, and they answer it sometimes. But anyway, there's all the mechanical things we do in our service. But when you're distributing books, at some time, you do everything that worked every other day, and you fail completely. No one wants to do anything. No one wants to take a book. For example, a book. But it's like that with every service that you do. To do it every day confronts you with the fact that your own abilities, your own attempt is necessary but not sufficient. So at some point, you either get really discouraged, this doesn't work and nothing's working, or you pray to Krishna to help you. And according to him, he helps in whatever way he wants to help. But by living life in that way, almost like a devotional experiment, is he really going to help me? It's like entering into any relationship. There's that in the beginning, before you can trust. Because relationships means trust. Because you're going to be influenced. Whoever you have a relationship with, you're going to be influenced by them. Positively, negatively, therefore, satsanga tyage vaishnava. So you enter into the relationship, and that's what Vaidhi gives us that's what Vaidhi is, the cooking of the food and offering it when the relationship isn't there. And it's supposed to develop into the real relationship by the exchange of love. I'm doing this for your pleasure. So before you can say, I'm doing this for your pleasure, you really want to be doing it, at least to some degree, for the deity's pleasure, for the Lord's pleasure. Do something to break us out of this hard-hearted selfishness that we've trapped ourselves in, which is the essence of material life, false ego. Everything is selfish. No matter what it external, you do charity to help the poor, but unless you get your name put up there and say, so everyone knows that you've done it, then you don't do it. Or you do it because it makes you feel good. But where's the love? Doing it for the pleasure of the other. Yeah, so it's a deep subject. Deep subject and deep. Yeah, a life of devotional service is a life of making that attempt to become a devotee, to become accepted by Krishna. Allow me to serve you. And at a certain point, when the desire is strong enough, and we could go on and on about this. Look at Raghunath Das Goswami, how attached in the 6th chapter of Antya-lila. No relationship with the material world at all. And therefore he was put in the association of Swarup Damodar Ramananda Roy to assist Mahaprabhu in his. So if you want to go there, you have to be qualified to be there. Otherwise you'll go and and send it to all your people on your Instagram account. And guess who's with Krishna? Yeah, it's heavy stuff. Yeah.
Someone else had that.
No, go ahead, because we don't have much time. So we'll try to do a Vedasara essence question.
I have two questions, but I'll ask one of them. Which is, you mentioned the principle of the world where people are cheating others and how many lifetimes we have cheated and the baggage that we carry with us. And that brought me to a thought, which is it even possible to cheat others essentially when essentially we are actually cheating ourselves? And so only when we cheat ourselves can we actually cheat others. And that at some point in our lives, and listen, I see it in my sadhana that there is this non-stop impurities, which is somewhat cheating in our own personal spiritual sadhana. And so therefore, because we're cheating ourselves, and Krishna knows, he's the only one that really knows that we are cheaters. So how do we transcend that consciousness is what I was thinking of, how to not be a cheater. Because I feel that, I'm a cheater ever since I've known it. It's
Ever since?
Ever since I've known this path of bhakti, somehow or other I'm deceiving myself and cheating myself. And as a result, the relationships that we have, we make promises, we say things that we can't live up to, we make promises we can't keep. And the relationships are not authentic because it's not coming from a place of purity, it's coming from a place of deficiency. So, if you could share a little bit on that.
We are dependent on mercy. But we don't give up. Did I mention yesterday that these brahmacharis who approached Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, did I mention that?
Yeah.
And he said, were you there when I mentioned that?
No.
Okay. They had been practicing for 15 years, 10 or 15 years, and they approached him and they were just sitting in the back of the room and they didn't say anything because they were afraid. So he said to them, it appears that you have something to say, but you're not saying it. And then they said, we're afraid. And he replied, no, if it's sincere, if you have something real you want to say, don't be afraid to say it. And they said, we've been practicing for so long, 10, 15 years, and still we don't feel closer to Krishna, any closer to Krishna. And he replied almost in a Zen koan way. And he just said, don't be afraid. And then the meaning was, this is natural. To feel that you're not close to Krishna. We were talking about, I'm just looking at the person who we were speaking about, he's not here, yesterday, that it's natural. It's like, before that, it's like the light is off in the dirty room. Mm-hmm. And then after you practice, the first fruit of sadhana is you turn on the light and you realize, oh no. Look what my consciousness is like. And it's very confronting. But don't be afraid. Just hear and become humble and keep cleaning. And depend on mercy. Ultimately, it's mercy. But to become conscious of it first and then you have to deal with it. How are you going to deal with it? The fact that the room is so messy. How are you going to deal with it? And who wants to start? It's almost like you have to take everything out and then you start putting things back in. So it's It's very humbling work. But humility and prema, they go together. That's perhaps the best I can do with that. What do you think?
Helpful. I just think I ponder on this quite a bit, that relationships within our movement, partially I feel it's very superficial, because there's a lot of, maybe just in my experience, that a lot of us, we're deceiving ourselves. And we don't even sometimes acknowledge the fact that we can't deceive Krishna. And the relationships that we have in this clouded environment of being authentic and being true to ourselves, and also living in a functional world of reality. And sometimes they don't quite gel so easily. And sometimes it can also be, it can be seen as someone being pompous or maybe aloof. So I have this constant meditation.
So this is a very personal, very personal question.
Yeah, not everyone's. Yeah, sure.
I mean, yeah, because different people are at different stages too. So an answer to a question that's very personal, it's like going to a doctor. You know, you need. See, you're presenting your pulse to everyone, which is very brave, and. But yet, the doctor feels this. An expert doctor will feel the subtle differences in one person's pulse and another, and then you need a prescription according to who you are. So there's general answers, and one problem that you have is you already know all the general answers. So, and you need to go back to Giriraj today. So what am I supposed to do? Just, yeah. There's like general prescriptions for everyone, but when we need but when we've been through a lot in our life, especially, and we all have different experiences of all the traumas and the goods and the bads and our attempts and everything like that. So we need some very specific prescription for us. And I don't mean just you. I'm also like that. And probably in one sense we're all like that. You know, at some point we need some very specific instructions, and from a doctor that we really trust. So, one thing about Giriraj is that, first of all, one of my favorite jokes is that he's the original rock star. But we go to Giriraj and somehow or another, and this is what happened to this Govardhan Retreat Center, is that at some point we were holding retreats here for many years. And then at some point we realized that if you glorify Krishna here, Krishna's devotees, that Giriraj is pleased. And then there's some mercy that comes to the devotees who are participating, because he's Haridasa Varjo. His pleasure is serving the devotees who are trying to please Krishna. It's not as there is the direct access that he has to Krishna, but his pleasure is feeding everyone else's relationship with Krishna. So if we sincerely approach him, and again, the word sincerely is difficult, but as sincerely as we can, we approach him and present our case to him. And say, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, you would call Krishna the transcendental autocrat, which means that he's the boss. He's going to treat you as he wants to treat you, whether you like it or not. But we trust that somehow or another we can have the depth of trust that there's something in this he wants me to learn. He wants to change my heart. He wants me more than he wants anything from me. He wants me. So if we can trust that, slowly perhaps. But take it to Giriraj.
My question that I just finally came to my question is, is there an element of a spiritual bypass that enters our spiritual practice?
That spiritual bypass means that you're taking the spiritual life to avoid material reality. Yes? Is that what you mean?
Yes.
Yeah. And
functionally.
Yeah, so there's a degree of the desire, basically the desire for liberation. That's how I translate it into our Hare Krishna terms, the desire for liberation. So are we infected with the desire to just get out of the material world and all the complexities, and you said functional reality. And what I've read in the Sandarbhas is that even a devotee will not, and you hear this, I don't want to deal amongst the highest devotees. I don't want, or Raghunath Das Goswami, not to deal with the material world. So it's a matter of percentages, basically. Which is the dominant thought? Do you want to please Krishna, or do you want to just be free from material misery? So in a devotee, the dominant thought is, I want to please Krishna, and all these my material karma, my tendencies, my impurities, they're just getting in the way of me pleasing Krishna, pleasing Prabhupada, pleasing the Vaishnavas, pleasing my spiritual master. So, and on the other side, for the people who want liberation, they're worshiping Krishna, but just to get liberation. The other people want liberation to get Krishna. Liberation meaning free from the shackles. These modes of material nature are tight. They don't loosen easily. So I think to get to the essence of our questions, even to understand what the deepest question that I'm really getting to is so difficult. To understand what the essence of the issue that is very difficult in and of itself. Yeah, we should. It's hard to stop now in the middle of this kind of conversation. Okay, why don't you ask one, and I'll try to answer it very briefly. Yes. Yes. You're her lawyer. Very good. But this one we have to end. So otherwise, I'm keeping you from Giriraj, and I don't feel good about that.
Should I go ahead?
Yes, after this, but someone has to stop me after, okay? Someone has to take charge. Brother Bihari, can you do it? Okay, thank you.
I feel that I don't see Krishna and I don't hear him, don't understand his reciprocation. So how to understand and to having a relationship, close relationship, deep relationship, though we see him in the form of deities and holy name and we hear, but in my personal life, I feel more connected to the devotees, like we can understand if we give them gifts, they are happy, or if we serve them, they reciprocate. But with the deities, with Krishna, with Giriraj, So it becomes, sometimes it becomes okay, but not for very long. So how to understand that Krishna is...
But this is how Krishna's mercy to you is coming through the devotees. So you like serving the devotees?
Yes.
I can't remember the exact place or the verse, but this is the sure way to get Krishna's mercy, is to please those who are dear to Krishna. So the definition of a prakrita bhakta, a materialistic, more materialism than devotee, is one who just sees the deity, forget the devotees. But Vaishnava etiquette is, if you're worshipping the deity and a devotee walks in and no one's there to greet him, you're supposed to stop the deity worship to serve the devotee and greet him. That's how that's what Krishna wants. That's someone who loves me, who has affection for me. If you take care of them, I'm happy. Do you have children? No. It's like when you have children, if someone loves your children, you're so happy. What did Prabhupada say? If you love me, love my dog. And what he was talking about was that the devotees should get along with each other. And yeah, we're also conditioned, but somehow to see the bhakti in another, in the midst of all the conditioning, because that's what Krishna sees. He sees that my devotee is offering me something tasty when Vidura's wife was offering a banana peel, because it was done with devotions. So it's not something less. What brings you happiness. And that's what I've seen also, is wherever Krishna opens the door to you, what inspires you in devotional service, that's an indication of the door that you should walk through. So, of course, we have, we can't say, well, I like doing this and I'm not doing anything. That's disrespectful of the whole thing. All the other devotees too. And like I started saying about the different religions. So it's like that even within our society of devotees, that some devotees think, well, what I'm doing brings me so much happiness, so therefore everyone should be doing that. And if you're not doing what I'm doing, because Prabhupada said, it was the most important, Prabhupada also said, because I say this is the most important doesn't mean that this is also not the most important. So you serve the devotees. How wonderful. That's the surefire way to please Krishna. Or you can even expand it even more. Well, anyway, this goes into a whole long topic. But even look at preaching like that. That Krishna, all these souls, they belong to Krishna. And if you could somehow bring them a little closer to Krishna, Krishna's so pleased, and he says that in the Bhagavad Gita. So if you can help devotees, and when you feel I don't have the capacity to help anyone, then you pray to Krishna. I don't have the capacity. Who am I to help anyone? But however you can, you try your best. What do you think, Mataji?
Yes, thank you. But still I want some relationship with Krishna also.
But do you think that he's going to neglect you if you serve those dear to him? But you have to see, when you're dealing with the transcendental autocrat, you can't tell him what to do unless you're Mother Yashoda. when he was fearful. You can't tell him what to do. Or you can tell him what to do, but he does what he wants anyway. That's what I've seen. But if you sincerely, if you really, really want something from him, you bring this question to Giriraj, the very question that you asked. You bring it to Giriraj. I love serving your devotees so much, but could you please do a little something maybe sometimes? But that's up to him. And that's what those brahmacharis said to Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, or they said, couldn't you just one time just show yourself a little bit, and then we could go on and give us some hope. But you're dealing with a transcendental autocrat. It's like telling a doctor, couldn't I have, this medicine tastes a little bit better than that medicine, couldn't I, or something like that. It just doesn't work that way. But you may be able to do it because you serve the devotees, so you tell it to Giriraj and see what he can arrange. But you have to accept his disposition. But trust that he hasn't forgotten you. But he has his timing. Yes, sorry.
He has his timing. Do we have?
Yeah. How could I say yes? You have to do it. What do we do now? Do you remember?
Probably go to Govardhan.
Yeah. Okay.